All right. And now, welcome to another episode of the Agent Spotlight. Today, I've got with me a real strong power user of Razor Ridge Leads, Brian Andrew Anderson, also known as Drew. It's good to have you here. And so, for those who don't know Drew will probably tell you about himself. But Drew, really, you've been a recent buyer of Razor Ridge Leads. I don't think until we were on to premium, really saw you anywhere within our ecosystem. So yeah, tell people about yourself. How long have you been in the industry? And yeah, just give a bit more background on.
Yeah. Well, so let's see. I started getting Razor Ridge leads. We could probably look it up maybe 6 weeks ago, something like that.
Yep.
I was in the industry. I was actually a financial advisor years ago for a few years, but I've been in sales and management since 2004. I sold Cutco knives in Chicago. I'm not from Chicago, but I was there for a brief period.
Wow.
So anybody who's done Cutco, from my experience and interacting with other people in Cutco, they've had a great experience with sales training and, excelled at other sales opportunities, whether that's just learning how to, learning the process or finding something that you resonate with. I think that's part of excelling in sales, is just finding something that you actually believe in.
Correct.
you know. Yeah. So, and then I got back into the industry just May of this year.
Wow. Wow. Didn't even
Yeah.
realize.
Yeah.
Oh, this makes even more spectacular what we're going to go into.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming to the industry May this year, literally just started Razor Ridge Leads about 6 weeks. And what type of AP are you hitting weekly?
So there's been 3 weeks, including this week, that I've done around $20,000 APV. Like this week, it's Tuesday right now. So this week, as of like Saturday morning, I was already at like 23,000 something. And it wasn't like a one call closed. I'm not a savant on the phone. There's nothing, spectacular about me. I just build relationships with my clients, find out what they actually need and fit them with the right thing. So yeah, that's about where I'm at. And then I think that another week in there was, yeah. So they're good.
Yeah, no, you've been on the national leaderboard within the Symmetry IMO the last, at least 2 of the last 6 weeks. You're probably going to be on this week, so let's call it 3. So half the time you're on the national leaderboard, which isn't a bad thing to say. So obviously you were probably buying leads or getting leads before Razor Ridge. What was that like? You don't have to say the name, but what was that experience like, and how does that compare to the lead? I believe you're getting the premium leads right now. How do they compare?
Yeah. There's a lot of premium leads out there. I was getting mortgage protection leads.
Mm-hmm.
And, the conversation is different from my experience, the conversation is different between a mortgage protection lead and a general life insurance lead and a final expense lead. And what I've learned in this short period I've been back into this industry is that the conversation is just completely different between those. So you have to learn how to state your role and purpose to the different leads. It's not like a cut and paste, one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm talking to a mortgage protection person, their needs or whatever their why might be a little bit different, what they're thinking about. Cause I already have life insurance, I'm looking for mortgage protection.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, okay, well, and then you have to explain how it, you have to explain a little bit of the history so that, they understand that what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Is it the leads or is it the person? Is it a numbers game or is it a quality of leads? I don't think that it's just a numbers game. I don't think that it's just a leads thing. I think that there's a combination there. If I get 1,000 Razor Ridge leads,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, my numbers are going to be ridiculous. I'm also going to have no time to talk to all those people.
Correct.
But if I get 1,000 aged leads that are, 6 months old or something like that, I'm going to be able to make a ton of phone calls and only connect with a few people. So it can be a numbers game, but at a certain point, it's really more about the value of the conversation that you're having with the person. And so if I can talk to somebody like your process for generating leads is very targeted, I know what that process is. So when I'm calling a Razor Ridge lead, it's like it's my advertisement. So when I call, I said, "Oh, you probably saw this talking about this."
Correct. Yeah. That's
And
brilliant.
so then you sent me you filled out the thing, verified your phone number, and I'm the guy you sent your information to.
Perfect.
And so then, oh yeah, it's like, oh, your favorite hobby is XYZ. It's like, oh yeah, so like already I'm building rapport. And then it's just about stating my role and purpose so that they understand that I'm actually here to help. And then if we can find a solution, great. If we can't, that's fine too.
It's brilliant, actually. And you make a great point about the flow of the lead, right? And, we've spoken, and be honest, I'd actually never spoken to you previously until about a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago. But when we speak, it's very much about you wanting to understand, all right, what's going on in the front end so I can figure out what to do on the back end. And I'm an open book, as you know. I will reveal all as much as I need to ensure that you have all the information that you need to deliver. Now, I didn't know this is what you're doing on the back end, which makes a ton of sense, right? You know what the ads are, you know what this script is, you know the flow in terms of someone gets there, and then you're just connecting the dots. So you've done X, Y, and Z. I'm here. I'm ready to help you. And I can imagine based on that, then the initial conversations that you're having are probably quite strong, right?
Yeah, they're really strong. There's been a lot of one call closes. I think it wasn't last week, 2 weeks the last time I was on the national leaderboard, I had maybe like 5 one call closes in a week. And there's this Tuesday that was just super hot, and it was like I had closed, I found a good option for a client in the morning, and it just kind of snowballed all day. It was like the next lead that I got, great conversation, found something that fit what they needed. And then it was another one. And then it was another. And it went all the way till like almost 9 o'clock at night. And it was hilarious. It was just so funny. I was just like, well, this is going to be a good one. I'm going to have a great conversation with this one. And then, talk to him. It was a great conversation, filled out an application, it was approved. No big deal. It was just, I was like, every day should be like this.
Yeah. Well, it should be like that, but at least you've got a consistent flow, right? But talk to me a bit more about some of the recent stuff that you've been doing. So I know on the weekend there was is it 20K AP?
Yeah. Yeah. This weekend this was a prospective client, a Razor Ridge client that I received probably 2 weeks ago from Ohio. And I haven't done a significant amount of business in Ohio. There's other states that I have, and we know about those. And that's like, okay, well, those are good states. Ohio, like, all right, well, I'm going to keep trying and see how this goes. And it had this former doctor, he's telling me what he wants, and it comes to like, I want $1 million of life insurance, and I hear that, you've heard that before. Like people are, oh, that sounds like a great number. I want to be a millionaire. $1 million sounds sexy. So I'm like, okay, let's figure out if you actually need $1 million. I didn't know he was a former doctor at that time. So I give him some smaller options, just, kind of understanding what his actual needs are. And it turns out, oh, $1 million makes a lot of sense for him. So we start talking about different options, maybe put two different types of life insurance together to hit that $1 million. He's in his mid 50s. So we came up with an IUL that made sense, designed specifically for the death benefit. You can design those in multiple different ways. So you can design them for growing a ton of cash value, but we really wanted to focus on the life insurance portion, because if you sell somebody on, you can make those illustrations extremely sexy.
Yeah.
And so if you sell somebody on this idea of building so much cash value in an IUL, indexed universal life insurance policy, and they're totally sold because of how you're explaining it in the illustration that they see, they get into that thing for a few months or a year or 6 months or something like that. And then they're like, I don't want to shell out $1,500 a month. I don't know. They forget even why they're doing it.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
So
It's all delayed buyers and all. So,
yeah, so it's extremely important to design, like make sure I pulled it away, I took it away from him. Like I showed him, well, here's something you can do. I didn't make the cash look super hot, but I made it look good because of what he was telling me. And then I took
yeah.
it away. I lowered the face amount to like half. And I'm like, maybe this makes more sense. Like, what do you think about this? He's like, absolutely not. I want my wife and kids to have this. I have this house over here. I have this house over here. I have two different businesses. I'm like, okay, like, you're the boss. You tell me what you want and I can help you design it. So long story short, or whatever, we got the application submitted and, went through some of the medical stuff to make sure that he would qualify for it and all that over the weekend. It's 6:30 on Saturday morning. So I started this week with, APV of just over 21,000 on that one. And then I did one Friday night after 9 o'clock. So just over 23,000 for the week so far. So we're doing good. Let's keep it going.
That's a very good start. And I guess your pipeline this week is similar, or I know probably not 20, but at least a few 10, not tens, ones or twos that are coming through potentially.
Yeah. A couple of really great meetings already lined up, and then plenty of leads flowing in, added more to the pipeline. So just making sure that pipeline's full.
Perfect. Let's talk about the pipeline actually, because, you know, we've, we've had a lot of discussions recently about, what's working, states, ads. And this is, I guess, a lot of people don't realize this. And I'm glad to have you here because you very early on realized that we have this data. And it sounds like you're a data person as well. And so probably what once a week we're interrogating, all right, what's this look like? Or we had, was it last week where it wasn't that good in terms of return based on your historical. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but based on your historical, it wasn't that good. And so, it was a good conversation where I said, look, I'll look at the data, tell me who you've closed over the past all your orders, and then I'll see what the data tells me. And from that, I made a very quick, it's very easy to see where as a business, as in Razor, where we may have gone down a path that wasn't making sense for not just you, but other agents within the ecosystem. And I think that's important for people to know, especially when you're looking to see a vendor. How can you rate a vendor in terms of what they're doing for you? This isn't just, as we all know, I don't want people to just buy leads from us and disappear. It's not good for me and it's not good for you. And you need the consistency, but also I need the consistency of people telling me what's working and what's not. And fortunately, we nipped that in the bud very quickly. And it looks like we're back on that train, which is important going forward. So just talk to me about the communication side of things, because I think a lot of people probably don't understand or think about it when working with a lead vendor.
Yeah, I think communication is awesome. It is huge, very important, and I appreciate you being so accessible, for our team and stuff like that, just so that we can have those conversations. I am a nuts and bolts person. I think I don't. Probably not everybody's that way.
Yeah.
Probably not everybody is thinking that way. But just to give a little background on that, I am very type A personality. I've built a lot of houses, so I'm a licensed. I still have my builder's license, so I've built a lot of houses too, and that's all the way from like drawing blueprints to doing everything. So electrical, plumbing, mechanical, framing, finish work, all that stuff. So I've done all of that. So I'm very visual. I need to know what's going on so that I can understand. I don't need to, but it helps my brain
Mhm.
understand. So if like you tell me what's going on with the actual ad or what your process is, it's so much easier for me to match my conversation with a prospect in that way. So yeah, just giving you a little feedback on, what states I'm closing and who, the volume of them, then what ad is working has been invaluable for sure.
Yeah, perfect. So I know before you spoke a bit about the NP, there's differences between mortgage protection, GL scripts, and life finance spend scripts. Are you able to give people a flavor of firstly, how you're reaching out to these people, what you're saying on
Mhm.
the phone, the sort of texting or dialing that you're doing as well for you to get this consistency? Because I think, again, people are probably listening to this thinking, oh, this is great. What can I do to take this and implement it in my business today?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that. So there's a lot of different scripts out there. It's important to know that there's no there's no one size fits all script, just like there's no one size fits all anything, leads especially. So with any script, you have to make it your own. It has to sound natural, and then you have to let your personality out on the phone.
Hmm.
Because if I'm calling people and I sound mechanical all day long, how many people are going to hear that mechanical nature and be like,
Yeah.
it's just another person calling. I had this lady yesterday. Well, yeah, a sidebar. This lady yesterday, she didn't answer the phone over the weekend. And then she texted me. She said, I get calls all the time, but she felt, as you know, she's a Razor Ridge lead. So she filled out her information, asked for help. So what I did was I text her, she texted me. I text her back and said, yes, you filled out this information, asked for help with life insurance. Then I sent her my digital business card so she can see my face.
Yeah.
That's something that I do a lot lately. So if I get on the phone with somebody, they sound like they're not comfortable, I will send my digital business card. And while I'm talking to them, they're like, they're giving me a little flack or something like that. I'll just say, yeah, you know what? I'm sending you my digital business card so you know who you're talking to.
Very,
And I
very, very
say it
good.
like that. So you have to have, I actually made a note because I think this is important for people to understand. You have to have posture.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Great.
sound afraid of the person that you're talking to and hoping that they do business with you, they're probably not going to.
Yeah.
So you have to have posture. They're looking for help and you can help them.
Mm-hmm.
So have
Correct.
that posture and knowing that there's a 90% chance you have a solution for them, unless they're looking for life insurance with benefits and thinking they can spend $50 a month and somehow get $1,000 because it's some sort of your retirement thing. I've talked to those people too. Not every lead is perfect, but because people see what they want to see,
Correct.
and so
Yeah.
you're going to get, it's not a lot, but you do get people like that. So
Mm-hmm.
as far as my script goes, I just say, I just introduce myself really quick. So the first, I'll get into just to introduce myself really quick. Doesn't matter how the first part of the conversation, I'll verify, you said your favorite hobby is walking or baking or whatever their favorite hobby is. Oh, yeah, yeah, that's right. Okay. And you're 56 years old. Oh, okay, cool. So you verified that info. And then I'll say, okay, just let me introduce myself a little bit better. I'm a national insurance producer and I help my clients shop the top 10 to 15 A-rated carriers in the country. So that means I'm able to help you find the most life insurance, the best life insurance for your situation, potentially for the least amount of money with the living benefits. And then I said, is that something that would help you? So I do that. And oh, yeah, okay, cool. So then they know that I'm not just a captive agent who works
Yeah.
for one company. And then, I go into maybe asking them a tough question, just to get them in the position of selling me on the idea of why they might be looking for life insurance. So
Interesting.
one, a paragraph that is very powerful is, now I'm going to ask you a couple tough questions. If you died yesterday, say in a car accident or something like that, and you were not here today, how would that affect your family? And what do you currently have in place to protect them?
Strong. Very strong
And then I just
message.
sit there and I sit there until they say something. Some people are like, oh, well, I have life insurance through work. And I'm like, oh, cool. So how much life insurance do you have? Then you just go right back into, I could talk all day about this. So
You got
yeah, I
top.
mean, yeah. So then you find out if they have life insurance, you find out how much. If it's through work, it's going to end when they leave their job, more than likely. So if
Correct.
they
Yeah.
already have life insurance, they're a great prospective client because they already believe in it.
Yeah.
So that's not a roadblock. It's not a hurdle. It's not an objection. They're just telling you, I already like this thing. I want more of it because they probably through work that it probably doesn't have living benefits, or it
Mm-hmm.
might be a term that renews every 5 years and they don't know it, or it might be accidental. I've had a client where they paid a couple $100 a month thinking they had $500,000 of life insurance and it was accidental. It wasn't even fully, so you're going to hear everything. So it's just, so at that point, they're now telling you why they need this thing and you're no longer the salesperson. You are the advisor helping them find the solution that they've been asking for. Because a lot of times it'll be like, boy, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have anything in place.
Yeah. And then
So,
you're very much primed at that point.
and then after that, the script, it just goes straight into some medical related questions. So I'll say, so as you know, because now I've built some rapport. So now they're comfortable with me a little bit warmer. So then I'll say, as you know, life insurance rates are based on your health and your age. So I'll just ask a couple medical related questions. Takes about 3 minutes. And then I go straight into some medical related questions. And then I just say I'll do some due diligence. If it seems like that we can't talk about those options at that point, if we can talk about those options, then I'll go straight into talking about some options. If I can't, then I'll say I'll do some due diligence. Then we can jump back on the phone for, 10, 15 minutes and, go over those options. And, if we find something, awesome. If we don't, no big deal.
Perfect. I really love what you're saying there. And I took a lot of notes between what you're saying, from what you're saying, because there's a lot of things that you're saying which is completely correct about. Firstly, people see what they want to see. Now, you've seen our ads and they're we're very particular with the language that we use, and then the verbiage, and then the things that we don't put in there as well, that most people get tripped up on. Go into detail of this place. But if you want to find out, you can ask me. And the reason why we do that is to try to minimize the amount of people that say, "Hey, you said I can get $400,000 in life insurance coverage, and I can borrow against this and that, and do that and the other." This ultimately is the TikTok generation, and they're seeing stuff somewhere else, and then they're bringing it into any ad that has similar verbiage, not necessarily the correct verbiage. It's the same thing. It's not possible to get rid of these guys because, marketing's marketing and they're seeing it everywhere. But it's interesting that you're still able to navigate those conversations in the right way. So, you're already preempting that there are going to be people that come in saying that. And you're not saying, oh, this is a bad lead. It's like, just needs a bit of education and we can get you somewhere, right? The second thing, which I think was brilliant, was the advisor talking yourself, positioning yourself as the advisor. Again, that's something that within our advertising, we're very careful in the language of saying who you are and what you're not. And so we always say that a licensed agent is here to basically give you options on the best plans and rates available from a multitude of carriers. They're not here, and we don't necessarily say they're not here to give you a quote. It doesn't serve anyone, it's just a number. You can give a number for anything. There needs to be a reason why you get the life insurance. And then that also took me to the last thing, which was, I love how you have the emotive question up front, the tough questions. Why do you need this? Or what coverage do you have in place? Because that really sets the tone for the rest of the conversation, hits them in the gut, and they feel like, do you know what? You got me. And now you're my advisor who's telling me, all right, based on what you're saying, what you need is, 250 grand. That's going to give you and your family coverage and, with living benefits that you can take up to 80% out of if anything happens. That sound good? Yeah, that sounds great. And so what you're doing is, I guess, where I hope everyone gets to when it comes to using Razor Ridge leads, because we designed the process to be exactly how you use it. And obviously you're seeing the benefit of that in terms of income and return as well. So I guess before we close, is there any other advice you want to give people who are maybe using Razor right now or looking to come to Razor right now, more premium leads, because that's where you're sat?
Yeah, there's a couple things. Understand that life insurance, for newer people, I think, understand that life insurance or any business, in sales like this, where you're getting leads and doing this kind of thing, it's a pipeline business.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get 5 premium leads and they're more expensive than leads that you've bought before, and if you don't close one, or you close 1 or 2 or whatever, and you just cover the cost of your leads, that is the best education that you can possibly get, because you're talking to the premium leads. So you've learned how to start. You should be making notes and learning how to talk to that prospect. Because again, the script that I use now has been completely altered compared to a script that I was using for maybe a call-in lead who was talking about mortgage protection. So the script changes, you're going to change. The conversation is completely different. So understand that there's a learning curve there. The first goal should be to break even, and that's just the cost of your time. So that's an education. So understand that, number one. And then remember that as a pipeline business, you have to fill that pipeline. It's not, I buy leads this week, I should close all these leads or as many as possible this week. That obviously would be nice, but realistically, some of those people aren't going to be ready till next week, or they just started looking and there's going to be some objections that you have to overcome.
Right.
Sometimes they are objections. Sometimes people actually just do need to wait.
Yeah.
Whether it's financial, because, I can post date an application up to 35 days with certain carriers.
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes doesn't move the needle for people because of their current situation, whether they're, whatever they might be doing. So understand it's a pipeline business. The other thing is, don't think with your own pocketbook. Don't think with your own wallet. So there's going to be newer agents that come in and, they are sold on this idea that they're going to see national leaderboards and wow, these people are closing this crazy APV. Yeah, that's because there's guys on the national leaderboard consistently for, many months, years and stuff like that. What are they doing? They're spending a lot more than you. They're spending a lot more money on leads than you are. That's why. And so if you want to make $10,000 a week, you have to get in the mindset of, well, what does that look like in a lead spend?
Yeah, very,
Does
very good.
that saying, if you put a dollar into a machine and you get two back, the whole thing is, well, how many dollars can I put into that machine? Because I'm gonna double my money every time. It's the same thing with leads.
Right.
So if it's $1,600 a week or $2,500 a week on leads, but you're making 10,000 or 15 or 20, writing that much business in APV, you have to get comfortable with those numbers. You're never gonna get over that hump because there is a tipping point
Yeah.
with leads. Any kind of lead doesn't, I, it's just my experience that the Razor Ridge leads are vastly superior to anything else that I have experienced personally.
I
So,
appreciate that. I
yeah.
do appreciate that. But for people, just for transparency, you're buying 30 leads a week.
Yes.
With those 30 leads a week, you're getting anywhere from 15 to 35K in AP every week, a bar one. And so, you're practicing what you preach, right? Even on that week where we didn't have a dip in terms of results, you're like, okay, I'm still just going to carry on, continue, because your pipeline needs to be full. And it's an important message because you're right. Not everything's a one call close. Buying 5 leads, and this is why I stopped people being able to buy 5 leads, doesn't help anyone. It's
It
just that
doesn't help anybody. You're not testing out anything for 5 leads. You're not you're doing nobody a service.
it's just probably waste, not getting any data, and it's not useful information. 5 leads, you can have one great week and one terrible week, and then you say we move on. And so everything you say here rings true, and it's good to see someone who's practicing what they preach as well. Because yeah, it's been great to have you as a Razor client. I'm looking forward to many more weeks of you on the leaderboard. So appreciate your time. Cheers.
Thanks for having me.